Welcome to Flip Lesson 7.23, talking about subtracting with regrouping, focusing on mixed numbers, but obviously reviewing what you have learned about regrouping in general. Let's jump right into this. It says there are 3 1/4 pies on the shelf. If the baker takes away 1 2/5 pies, how many pies will be on the shelf? All right. We're going to use a picture to help us illustrate this idea right here. Okay, we start with the fact that we have 3 whole pies and 1/5 of a pie left over. Since we have that, now of course we want to take away 1 whole pie and 2/5 of another one. Of course, we have a problem here because we only have 1/5 left. So where are we going to get this other 1/5 that we need to get rid of? This is where the regrouping is going to come in. We're going to take our original 3 pies, and we're going to divide them into, take one of them and divide it into fifths, right? So we now have 1 whole pie divided into 5 sections. Right? From here now, we can actually do the subtraction that we want to do. And in the end, I can take this away. I can take my single piece that I left over, and of course I can take 1 piece from the one I divided up. And so in the end, how much pie do I have left? I have 1 whole pie and 4/5 of my second pie that's still left over. And so in the end, I have 1 4/5 pie left over. This illustration helps us understand what is going on, what regrouping is all about, right? Taking from the whole number, right? The whole number of 3, which we see here, we got 3 whole pies, and we took one of them and we took it into and divided it and created a fraction out of that. Let's take a look at what that looks like when we don't have the pictures in front of us, right? So we have 3 5/8 minus 1 7/8. All right, so the first thing we want to do when working with this type of problem is we want to rearrange it and rewrite it in the vertical form. It just has a tendency to be a little bit easier then. All right, from here now we can understand, right? We have common denominators of 8 and 8, so we're able to subtract our fractions. However, when I notice I'm taking 5 minus 7, that of course is impossible. So what am I going to do? I'm going to borrow from my whole number. I'm going to cross out the 3. 3 becomes 2. How much am I borrowing? I'm borrowing 1. Now, if I want to add 1 to my 5/8, I need a common denominator. And of course, 1 is a fraction that has the numerator and the denominator are the same. So in this case, it would be 8/8. So now I have a total of 13/8. So now I can take the 13/8 and I can subtract the 7/8 now. My denominator is going to stay the same, and then I'm going to take 13 minus 7 to get 6. And then of course I come back over here and I finish the problem by taking my 2 and subtracting the 1 and getting 1 6/8. All right, now I've solved correctly, but with all fractions we always want to take one last step and say, can I simplify? And of course we're going to identify this one and realize that 6 is an even number, 8 is an even number. Because of that, we want to simplify this into lowest terms. And so to do that, I'm going to, since I know they're both even, that means I can divide 2 out of both of them. And that's going to leave me with a 3/4. And of course, I don't want to forget my 1. So I'm going to move that over here. And my final answer is 1 3/4. All right, now of course, this can come in a variety of different forms. And in this case, you see the example, it has a percentage in front of you. And if you look at this, the big question is, what has changed? And you don't have to be afraid, because all we did was add a label. That's all we did. We just made it a percentage with a label. Other than that, our process is still the same, right? We're still going to take this inequality, we're going to move it over here. We're going to do some subtracting, right? And now we're going to solve. We're going to solve in the same way, right? I want to take 1/3 minus 2/3. Of course, I can't take 1 minus 2 just doesn't work. So I got to borrow, right? I'm going to borrow from my ones place, and so now I'm going to turn this into a 2. So technically my number is 82. So I'm going to cross out this whole number, make it 82, and now I'm going to add that 1 that I just borrowed, which is going to be 3/3. So when I add those 3/3, now I have 4/3, right? So I added my 2 fractional pieces together, and now I can actually do the subtraction that I want to do. 4/3 minus 2/3, right? Denominator stays the same. 4 minus 2 gives me an answer of 2. And then I come over here and I finish with my whole numbers. 2 minus 1 equals 1. 8 minus 4 equals 4. And so the end, we have this. And of course, that scary label, we put it right back where it needs to be. And so we have this idea. This lesson is a little short. It's simple, but it's a very important skill that we want to practice. So here's your sample problem looking at regrouping with subtraction and how that works, especially in connection with mixed numbers. This is it for lesson 23.